Good evening, everyone. So we're just going to take a little bit of time to kind of give an update on where we stand with the strategic plan, the 5-year plan. I'm sure everybody remembers there was a lot of community input into developing this plan. Some of you are looking at me with blank stares. Let me introduce myself first. I apologize. That was weird. My name is Pat Rennell. I'm one of the assistant superintendents here. So I just want to give you a quick update on where we stand, and we're going to go through central office personnel as far as where we stand with each of our objectives and goals, and some of the evidence to show where we stand in obtaining those objectives. So the first one,
The committee led by a board member?
We were on it. I was on it.
How come the-
Not now, not this year.
Guys, we can hear you.
In charge of strategic planning, doesn't give us present.
so goal one was to continue commitment to student success by promoting social emotional wellness. In objective one, we had two objectives here. Objective one was the Middletown Township Public School District will implement and develop a developmentally appropriate plan to support the social and emotional needs of each MTPS student, staff member, and family, including curriculum, programs, and activities. And I'm not going to go through each of the listed evidence here, artifacts, but a couple of things I wanted to highlight. This year, to better support our students, staff, and families, the district developed a framework and pathways, which was a flow chart that formalized the process in which social emotional learning and mental health supports are accessed by the students and staff. And this is a tiered model. And this model starts at the top and runs down to the bottom. So it's at the very top is tier 1, and then the whole way down to the bottom of tier 3, dealing with individual students' needs. The district also increased its use of Suite 360, which is an online platform that provides social emotional learning in both the classroom based and student-driven experiences. These are aligned with the CASEL framework and competencies of social emotional learning. We've had that in the district at the high school level. This year, we implemented it at the middle school level, and we've had a lot of great feedback from the building level and the middle school students as far as the implementation of Suite 360. We continue as a district to work with CPC and Riverview Crisis Unit to continue to look at the evaluation process and the intake process of when students are in need of higher care, that we can, they have to move on from our support staff here in the building to a higher level of care. We have regular meetings with CPC and Riverview Crisis Center to make sure that we're aligned, we're collaborating. So when the students do move into that next level, the foundational supports are already in place and they're prepared for the next level. As a district, we worked with ESS, Effective School Solutions, to provide professional development for our staff. We had 2 over the last year. They were virtual, dealing specifically with the pandemic. The first one was an opportunity entitled Supporting Student Success, Stress, Anxiety, and Mental Health During COVID-19. And the second one was an implementation of the Nurture approach to find greatness in their students. And like I said, both of these professional developments were offered online to our staff throughout the district. And the last one that I wanted to highlight was our mental health and community resources page on the district website has been updated. We've added additional resources to that, and we have a dedicated COVID-19 hub that families can go to, and there's a ton of resources available there from mental health, social emotional, housing, food resources, anything that families may need during this pandemic. There's a dedicated spot right on our district webpage that families can access that. And the last one up there is the 9th grade seminar curriculum. This is a new course that's going to be offered to our freshmen next year, and that is developed by a group of counselors and teachers, and is based specifically on the New Jersey Department of Ed's social emotional learning competencies. So again, that'll be a course that all of our freshmen will take moving into next year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Kirkpatrick. I'm the District Director of Student Support Services for the district. We're still under goal 1 here. Objective 2 is the Middletown Township Public School District build and foster a school climate that supports the social emotional needs of all the students through school-wide programs, initiatives, and activities. Our district recognizes the importance of addressing the social, emotional, and the mental health wellness of our entire school community. We have expanded programs that we currently are running, and we've also implemented new programs in order to support not only our students, but our staff and our parents as well. This is just a list of a few of the different programs that we've implemented across the district this year. I can run through them quickly for you. Responsive Classroom considers the social and emotional well-being. Want me to have it?
Yeah,
Sure.
turn green, they're close.
Sorry. Okay, good. Okay, so Responsive Classroom was initially in elementary school. We've implemented it in the middle school as well. It considers the social and emotional well-being of our students in the classroom. Virtual support groups have been happening throughout the pandemic. Some schools have developed a social emotional charter with feedback from school staff and students to recognize what they think is the biggest need from a social and emotional standpoint in the school. Virtually counseling classrooms have been going on. There's a virtual calming room for students where they can go in and pick different resources for supports. And again, this is mixed. It's not all at one level or one building. It's mixed between our elementary, our middle, and our high schools. Restorative practice helps us deal with discipline and conflict in a more student-centered manner. Middle school ESS, Mr. Ranella mentioned middle school ESS. It used to be at the high schools. It's still at the high school. We've expanded to the middle school as well. We have Air Dogs program that's pending. That will bring service dogs to our district. Very excited about that. Secret Sidekick is a program that pairs up teachers so they can support one another. Motivational Mondays is just a way to get students going in the beginning of which can be a difficult week. SEL Social Emotional Quote of the Day. We typically have quotes throughout the school year helping motivate students and staff. We've expanded our suicide prevention resources in our high schools, giving the physical education and health teachers more resources to support the students. There's a staff wellness choice board at the high schools that allows staff members to pick and choose which topics they need to talk about for wellness during that week. Better Space Hub is a hub that is for students to pick different wellness topics for support. The Art of Resiliency and Integration is a 6-week program that they have at High School North with different videos and supports for staff and students to pick from. Take a Deep Breath Wednesday just helps us get through a difficult week when we hit hump day. Virtual Learner Twitter account is a good way to have our virtual learners stay in contact with what's going on in the schools. And the Middletown High School staff had a random kindness Padlet where students and staff members were able to post different things that they've done to help one another. I just wanted to also mention that next year we are going to be implementing a screening form so we can screen our students, a universal screening form to gauge the wellness of our students in the schools. We're also going to be offering professional development for parents on mental health, and we're going to be providing professional development for our staff on mental health trauma and also crisis intervention and assessment. Thank you. I'm not sure exactly what it shows now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Tiedemann, District Director of Special Education. Goal 2 is our increasing equity and opportunity to ensure the needs of all learners are met. So this is our inclusion and equity goal, which we have 3 objectives. I won't read through all of them, but there are so many things that we are doing for equity and inclusion that I hope I didn't miss any. We're literally adding to them just a little while ago. We have so many things going on. There are new digital resources in a number of the subjects. And what that does is support differentiated instruction. It gives students different opportunities for engagement, for assessment, kind of in line with UDL, a universal design for learning. There are diversity and inclusion activities in chemistry and physics with an expansion of an appreciation for people with disabilities, the LGBTQ+ people, and BIPOC. Increasing multisensory methods of instruction in reading and writing. Some of these will duplicate on other slides. So our elementary teachers in special education are trained in Project Read, and then our middle and high school self-contained teachers are trained in linguistics. And the purpose of that is to provide these multisensory methods of reading so that they are able to work more efficiently with their general education peers as we move more and more students towards opportunities for inclusion. We do a lot of work with New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education. If you were able to join us on May 4th, we did a presentation all about inclusion and our expansion of inclusive opportunities, co-hosted by the district, the Middletown Township Friends of Diverse Learner, New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Ed, and Montclair State University Center for Autism and Early Childhood Mental Health. We all co-hosted it together. If it isn't on the website, it will be soon. We have a lot of work going on with Dr. Fergus and Temple University. Dr. Meg Young is the district liaison for that, and there's a lot of equity and inclusion work taking place there. And we have ongoing meetings and discussion with child study team case managers regarding inclusion and the continuum of educational services. Next slide, please. So objective 2 is all about PD to help us expand our inclusive opportunities. We have a lot of professional development that goes on, our paraprofessionals. They had a video training in September, and actually when we meet probably every 6 to 7 weeks with new paras, they also do the training, which does include in it supporting students, fading support so students can be more included with their general education peers. There is going to be targeted PD for the 6th grade teachers in science and social studies. That's going to be Project Read to help the students be able to apply multisensory literacy skills to non-reading, meaning science, social studies, and nonfiction passages and curriculum. Talked about the Project Read training. There was also Project Read training for all of us CST in February by Amy Wallace, one of the RDTs, Reading Development Teachers. We are going to be training additional RDTs. So the RDTs are the Reading Development Teachers, and they work with Gen Ed tiered instruction. We're going to be training quite a number of them in Wilson Reading, Level 1. And then we had a number of staff members, administrators, teachers, CST participate with NJCIE and their spring conference on March 19th, and also an upcoming June 28th summer conference. That's open to anyone. So if you just go to NJCIE's website, they have a whole conference going on June 28th. Okay, next slide. This continues our objective 2. So if you were able to join us, or if you've heard me speak other times about the inclusion grants, so through NJCIE's work with NJDOA, many schools in the state of New Jersey applied for and received different grants for inclusion. In Harmony Pre-K and Leonardo K-5, we were awarded systemic change grants. So that's 3 to 5 year. It's a whole grant process to move the schools more towards inclusion. We're happy to say that Bayview, I think I might have that on the next slide, applied for the upcoming year to be part of a systemic change cohort. And Middletown Village has applied for technical assistance, which is another kind of grant through inclusion. And we do a lot of work with them. The COP is for the administrators working on the inclusion grant. We're back to Dr. Fergus and his Temple University cohort who work with us on equity teams. The science teachers have received PD in various Gizmo virtual lab activities, so that's an app that they work on. And we had one of our special education attorneys met with the child study team in March 2021, just to go over the legal requirements for least restrictive environment. Next slide. And our objective 3 is promoting a positive climate and culture of acceptance and appreciation for diversity and inclusion within our schools. You may have heard about the morning meetings. That is very inclusive for our students. There's read alouds coming that are going to be used as part of the K-5 curriculum that's coming. Again, we did have our presentation. It was on May 4th and will be up on the website. We continue to work on our inclusion grants. As I said, Bayview Elementary has applied for 3 to 5 year systemic change grant. Middletown Village has applied for a technical assistance grant. We won't know until we receive, we won't know if we receive them until probably beginning of July. But even if we don't receive them, we're taking what we learn through our grant work for Harmony and Leonardo, and we are sharing it throughout the district. The Autism Awareness Acceptance Virtual Classroom has various read aloud and resources for staff and students. That was a big part of our Autism Awareness Month. And then we have Bayview's MD Heroes Cafe initiative. So Bayview has this Heroes Cafe initiative where they take orders for beverages and deliver throughout Bayview Elementary School. They've recently teamed with New Monmouth so that we can expand it to some of our classes in New Monmouth. And it's almost like, it's like a junior of the No Limits Cafe where they do donate some of their profits. And that was kind of like the incentive to develop the Bayview MD Heroes Cafe. I think that's my last slide, Chris.
Michelle, can I ask a question? Is there any expansion of this to the high school for the autistic community? There hasn't been really anything going on with,
So we want
Cafe
to get,
or
like
anything.
Brew Crew is kind of a
Right.
similar thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Brew Crew at High School South, but we can't wait to get that back off the ground. So we should have that back off the ground. It's kind of a similar thing as to what they're doing with the Heroes Cafe.
okay. And that's gonna be starting back in September?
We should definitely have it back in September. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I personally look forward to it. I don't know where.
Yeah, it was a great program. I don't know what happened to it. It was great, but
Yeah.
the kids right now, there hasn't been anything like that for
Right.
at least the
So
2 years that
we're
my son's been there.
Definitely looking to get back to as much as we possibly can in September.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Pekas. I'm one of the assistant superintendents. And with me here is Dr. Kerrigan. He's one of our curriculum directors, the director of mathematics, K-12. And on behalf of the curriculum department team and all of the teachers that we work with to craft and draft our curriculum and implement it, we're here to talk about some of the things we've done this year to support Goal 3 of the district strategic plan, which was to continue our commitment to student success through personalized learning. Personalized learning has been a bedrock, the foundation of our district and our curriculum and our instruction for several years now. We find that it really does facilitate true learning, meaningful learning for all students, in that it provides differentiated and targeted instruction specific to students' needs as well as interests. And we know that that's what will keep them engaged and learning and be able to apply what they're learning in the classroom to the real world. So Dr. Kerrigan is going to talk about our first objective, some of the evidence that we wanted to share with you tonight for this effort. And the first objective was to ensure more consistent practice and facilitating personalized learning. It was really focused on becoming more efficient and effective in analyzing student data with them as well, with students, and analyzing their own data to drive that personalized learning.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So in grades 2 through 12, we've adopted the Linkit platform through which teachers are able to get benchmark assessments to see what students are learning, what they've mastered, and what they might not yet have mastered. And through that process, teachers create choice boards. They give students their own assessment results so that they can create their own goals and keep track of their learning in that way. The Linkit assessments are given in ELA and in mathematics. So students will take them from grade 2 all the way through Algebra 2 and ELA 11. And as you might know, there's a Linkit parent portal. So if you're interested in seeing how your students are doing on these assessments, I think information was communicated out earlier in the school year about that. We also use the Achieve the Core Coherence map. This is an online site where if a teacher wants to see what foundational skills are important for the current skill that they're teaching, they can just click on the grade level standard and it will fold them back to the previous skills and standards students need in order to be able to master the current standard. This was something that was released about a year and a half ago. And we've been finding a lot of success with this and plan to use it moving forward into next year, where unfinished learning will be our priority. Other things we've been doing, iReady diagnostics in ELA to support acceleration of growth by providing students reports that address learning gaps, while also enabling all students to access grade level learning. And then we also have the F&P, ICANN math assessment, kindergarten screeners, and teacher dyslexia training, which is mandated by the state.
And this may seem like a lot of assessment. We really do embed it into our natural teaching and learning experiences. And more importantly, This year, it really served as the impetus to how we were able to strategically identify what were the primary core foundational skills we needed to impart and expose students to, especially while we were working in that hybrid cohort model. And that really is what kept our district on pace, our students on pace for meeting grade level expectations. So the second objective under goal 3 was to increase equity with regard to opportunities for incorporating student interest, reflection, and ownership, while also empowering them to become creative communicators capable of collaborating to address local and global issues with the support and involvement of our parents. Now, the parent piece was a little difficult this year, although I think our teachers were very creative in how they engaged parents and kept parents informed with what was happening in the classroom. We saw some great examples of that. But I think what Dr. Kerrigan's probably going to focus on is our efforts to really hit the interests of students, which is something that we always have an eye on.
So our curriculum department has been very busy this year working on new course offerings and updated course offerings to what we already offer to provide students with those opportunities and interesting coursework that they would like to take. Some examples are listed on the slide. We've had interest-based projects aligned to the New Jersey Student Learning Standards and the new K-5 social studies curriculum, which include a climate change project, Sustainable Development Goals project, and a civics action project. In 21-22, we will offer some new high school electives, including modern global issues and power, prejudice, and the human experience course that was done in conjunction with Kean University. Thorny Creators this year conducted a social studies pilot civics project addressing a local issue, and the feedback from that will be used to revise middle school social studies curriculum to align with the new NJSLS. There's also a new challenge-based curriculum developed for K-5 gifted and talented, where students will complete interest-based challenges and or SPARK projects in 6-week cycles. Also in math next year, we're having an Algebra 2 pathway program. So students will be choosing the type of Algebra 2 that best aligns with their post-secondary interests. We'll have a STEM version for students who wish to study pre-calculus, calculus, and beyond, and a non-STEM version for students who like to become more data literate.
Okay, and our last objective, I guess considering that we had finalized these goals and objectives or zeroed in on them prior to the current health emergency, it was apropos that our third objective, Chris, if you can just go forward one. Thank you, was to extend personalized learning in the virtual setting by utilizing strategies, methodologies, and resources that are appropriate to provide learning experiences. Most importantly, that balance technology use with other action-oriented opportunities, that person-to-person experience that we want our students to engage in. So I think Dr. Kerrigan's going to explain some of the things we've done this year, whether they were related to the way schools were operating this year or how we expect to be able to expand upon these virtual resources to students moving forward.
Our teachers were extremely flexible, adaptive, and innovative this year with their use of technology in the classroom in the absence of regular face-to-face, everyday type instruction. They employed a variety of methodologies, including choice boards, virtual breakout rooms to work with students and to partner them up with other students who are either in the room or out of the room. We had the Imagine Learning program used in elementary for both math and for ELA, so that students had some type of adaptive program to work with outside of the regular classroom instruction. On the high school end, teachers of advanced placement courses had the opportunity to use the AP Classroom. This is a platform put out by the College Board that contains released exam questions, videos, and supporting materials so that students can be sure that they're accessing appropriate, rigorous content throughout the course of the year. Also, we're very excited about esports. Esports teams were launched by student leaders and ed techs at all 5 secondary schools during this past school year. And that's an endeavor we're looking to expand upon next year.
Oh, another slide, Chris, if you can move forward.
In the science area, we had the Sabbath Realized program in chemistry and physics. So students have a variety of resources available through that website. Science 9 to 12 will be incorporating Pivot interactive virtual lab activities that involve some guided inquiry, which is in line with our personalized learning goal. And then in the arts and business areas, we have a variety of curriculum updates, including updates to the standards, career readiness, life literacies, key skills standards, and more individualized anchor standards in those elective areas.
Thanks. So I think Mrs. O'Hagan is going to give everyone an update on where we are with goal 4, which was our community partnerships.
Thank you. My name is Charlene O'Hagan. I am the District Director of Human Resources and Instruction and a Middletown Lifer. I have to tell you, when we began the strategic plan, the concept of a pandemic and the impact it would have on the entire world was not a molecule in any of our persona. So to say that we decided to recognize the importance of fostering a partnership with the community, as well as strong parent, student, educator relationships, that makes common sense. Of course, we would want to do that. But never have I been so proud of our community than when I assessed all of the things that we've been able to do, whether it's the school district, the Middletown Township Committee, the Middletown Public Library. I mean, it's really been eye-opening to see all of the projects that are underway to support our students. The first objective was to build strong and collaborative community partnerships to support student success. Just a few pieces of evidence. And again, if I've left anything out here that's key, I apologize. There was so much to cull through, to pull out examples of evidence that I may have left something important out, and I will be glad to add it if anyone wants to share with me. But the Middletown Township Health Department was vital in helping us with our health planning as we struggled to get back to full day in-person learning. The Middletown Public Library, it could not have come at a better time, where they provided support for students and parents, including opportunities to do virtual research. There was a homework health hotline. They created a program for teachers' bags where teachers could go and virtually collect access to digital books and lesson planning. They had many virtual programs that kids could go online and experience. The database access alone is something that a college and university in the days long ago would not have had access to. And they also are, they have a program called the Children's Readers Advisory, where kids want to go on and fill out a Google form because they want a suggestion for what's a new book that might align to something that they're reading. And hopefully they're doing a lot more reading now. They can do that. The second objective, to implement methods and protocols to support our students' social emotional well-being through resources provided by community-based programs. I'm not going to read all of them to you. They're there. They're powerful. And I think the last one at the bottom is what I'd like you to really focus on. All of these programs, they provided counseling, they provided consultants, community care for students and families in need, completely ongoing through COVID. They found ways to morph their services and to provide them virtually or to provide places where they could safely connect with people. I mean, they have really stood the test of being there for our community. So I'm extremely proud of them. Okay, next slide. Okay, objective 3, to maximize opportunities that are robust school community partnerships to support an open line of communication. But this just changed. This was bulleted before. Something happened to this. Anyway, I'm going to go from my screen because I know I've got everything on there. So we know we had the partnership with the DNA, which was totally and completely amazing the way it helped us to get staff that wanted to be vaccinated. The Middletown Public Library right now is in the process, and what a time to be doing it, is starting the 2021 time capsule project. And they're looking for people to offer suggestions. What should be in a time capsule to cover and include what happened in the year 2021. They also have a great Tales and Tales summer reading program where they have service dogs work with students, and they are planning to have a lot of their services available in person once we get to the summer. Horsey Park, again, offering great resources. The Middletown Township Department of Public Works has been very busy. They have created a recycling educational tour
that's going to be primarily focused on K-1 and second grade students, where teachers can bring their students to the recycling department and learn all about recycling. The Middletown Township Committee gave a life-saving award to our high school North heroes. And also Mayor Tony Perry and some of the administrative officers from the police department went to Bayview's Heroes Cafe that Dr. Tiedemann just spoke about before, and actually visited with the students and shared some of the products from the cafe. There's a weekly newsletter that the township puts out called Middletown Matters, and the district puts out called MTPS Pride, that highlights many of the accomplishments of students in the district and the community at large. Croydon Hall has just finished a university accessible playground. The Middletown EMS Explorers Post is seeking to expand and add new members. And just this past May 5th, Middletown hosted a mental health panel that brought together representatives from many different areas of social emotional learning support, mental health support, and they have created a resource, a Google Doc, that's been broken down into files by subcategories, so people can go in and look for targeted support, regardless of what their need is during this very challenging time. It's really quite impressive. Very proud of them. I think that's it. Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, let's say it over here. Goal 5. Goal 5 talks about ensuring financial stability to ensure quality education for all students. And that for all students is a statement about equity for students. And you'll see that equity kind of runs through almost every single one of our goals in our strategic plan. You're talking about inclusion, you're talking about personalized learning. It's all based on being equitable in our education. And equity doesn't necessarily mean equal, but it means that students get what they need to achieve to their highest potential. So the first objective is to increase efficiency in alignment with the New Jersey Personal Facility Adequacy Guidelines, as well as state federal funding guidelines in order to manage student enrollment, which is class size, and personnel staffing to ensure all students receive a thorough and efficient education. So what we did this year is, and this we've done this in the past, we just did it more, was more pointed, targeted, and more of it this year, was to target our Title I schools to reduce class sizes by adding more classes, more staff. So we brought those class sizes down. That was a goal of ours this year. But we didn't stop at Title I schools. We also used some of our budgeted money and our ESSER II pandemic relief money funds to do the same thing at our other schools, our non-Title I schools. We also use that money to increase opportunity for inclusion through additional staff and professional development, and also staffing to provide the targeted interventions to students in need of remediation, as well as those, to enrich the students that for enrichment. Next one. Objective number 2 is to implement the curricular, special ed, social, emotional, and curricular programs, as well as district strategic plan initiatives in alignment to state and federal mandates to ensure all students receive a thorough and efficient education in the least restrictive environment. So this is talking about the programming. You already heard about this at the middle school. We were lucky enough to be able to institute the ESS, it's a social emotional program for our middle school students. It was like late winter, early spring that we started that program there. So we're in a tier 3 program right now because students' schedules were already set. They had already been going to classes all year long. So what the tier 3 is, the students during the day receive really intensive therapies and for SEL and for mental health. It also has a parent component, a parent involvement component to that. Next year, we're looking at a tier 4 program, which is a more structured schedule for the students with even more intensive therapy and the parent component as well. For the past few years, we've had something called Unified Sports. It wasn't a course, it was an activity. And it brought together students with special needs competing on the same team with students without special needs as athletes, as equal athletes in an intramural league. And it was a wonderful, it still is, it's just a great program. The students love it, the coaches love it, parents love it, it's really wonderful. So this year, it was expanded, or the idea was expanded into a PE course, where students could elect to be in this PE course where they're, working every day as co-students, as peers, whether you're a special needs student or if you're not a special needs student. So this is something that we're really proud of, and I think it really is successful, and we're going to keep that going for next year. And Amy's going to come and finish this, and then finish goal 6, and goal 6 is our last goal.
Thank you. I'm Amy Doherty. I'm the business administrator for the district. Those of you who don't know me. The third objective under goal 5 is to efficiently identify and allocate financial resources to implement state and federal mandates and programs in an equitable manner across the district. So as we were preparing our 21-22 budget, we were cognizant, and we did incorporate into our plan the various pandemic-related funding sources that we have that have become available to us, and the needs that they could address that we would need for next year's budget. That was all taken into consideration, and we do carefully look at each grant to make sure that we are maximizing what we can use those funds for. Some of the grants intersect as far as being able to charge the same types of things to those grants, and there are some things that are only particular funding sources, so we make sure we're maximizing all that. The couple other points we just wanted to make sure everybody would understand that when we're using these funds, we do need to avoid using these funds for things that are not pandemic related, or they're not a one-time cost. We don't want to start incorporating these funds into our operating budget and rely on them for costs that will continue beyond the pandemic. So we are looking to target temporary interventions or one-time costs, such as improvements to our facilities that are needed and so forth. So it's important to do that. The state aid cuts that Middletown has been experiencing over the past few years, they are still happening. Our budget was, our state aid was cut for next year again. So we have to keep all these things in mind. Our finances have not looked exactly the same as they would without the pandemic going on. We have had savings in some areas we don't normally save on. We've had some additional costs. So we are looking at all of this in totality to see, where we'll be after all of this activity subsides. You could go to the next slide, Chris. So goal 6 talks about our investment and stewardship of our infrastructure for student success. Our first objective being to create a plan to ensure that our facilities have adequate and appropriate space to implement current curricular mandates and initiatives. Assessment of our facilities will be done in a strategic and efficient manner and will include consideration of facilities adequacy guidelines, including common and multi-use spaces, recommended security improvements, and recommended health and safety improvements. So one of the key tools that districts use to plan for their facilities is their long-range facilities plan. Every district's required to have one. It has to be approved by the New Jersey DOE. It must be updated in 5-year intervals. We did just recently update our long-range facilities plan in 2020, which would take into account all of our buildings and identify needs over the next 5 years. But in reality, it would be 5 years and beyond, because the amount of work that's included in that long-range facilities plan is not something the district could possibly budget for or fund over 5 years. But it does prioritize those needs based upon timeframes. So we did just update that in 2020. Also, our Facilities and Finance Committee
got an update from our architect and engineering consultants just targeted toward our HVAC systems a couple months ago. And that committee has begun discussions to work toward planning to develop an approach to address those needs over the next 5 years. We've done a lot of things, those of you who come to our meetings or look at things regularly, we've done a lot of projects under with grant funds from the state. We've done an ESA plan, an energy savings improvement plan. We've used other funding sources to fund things, and we have to look now to see what we're going to be doing going forward. Objective 2 is to develop a master facilities plan that allows the district to focus investment in campuses that are suitable for long-term continuing use. So we have worked with a consultant over the past year, wrapping things up right around the holidays for the first phase to identify and develop preliminary scenarios to address enrollment imbalances and potentially to allow for targeted facilities improvements across the district. What the consultant was charged to do was to explore alternative configurations to meet strategic planning objectives, consider short and long-term alternatives, and to facilitate consensus building around preferred alternative and lay out steps for future planning, for further planning and implementation. So we did talk to, like I said, the consultant, and we did come up with some preliminary jumping off points for future consideration. And it was based upon a rubric that the strategic planning had put together. We have not moved into another phase on this work yet, but we do have that work, and the board and committees will continue to look at that to see what the possible next steps may be.